there's never a problem until there's a problem. But when there's a problem in real estate, it's a big ass problem.
Yeah. And it's an expensive problem, by the way.
Yeah.
So
it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me. The video that I posted today was about, it was a buyer that actually called in that we were talking to during, I was filming my videos, and this buyer happened to call in that we're going to be working with. And I said, hey, what search portals are you using to search for properties? And he said Zillow. And when I get tired of Zillow, I go to Redfin. And I said, okay. I said, I get it. I said, that's definitely the tender of real estate. I just want to make sure that whatever you do, don't ever click the button contact agent, because that's a disaster waiting to happen. And I think that we need to educate the consumer on, because they're going to go online on some sort of search portal, and helping educate them, helping them understand. When you talk about humans over houses, that is really where you win the battle of technology. It's so interesting to me that you're so tech heavy, you're so tech forward, you're all about culture. Let's drink the Kool-Aid. But mainly your foundation of your company is all about humans over houses.
Correct.
And there's never been a more important time to move from service provider into relationship with the people that you're helping with what is usually their largest single asset.
Yeah, I'm going to tie this to your comment. This is really an interesting conversation. I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I don't care. So I had an opportunity to interview Beverly Jackson. Beverly Jackson is the head of, basically she's the head of, I don't know what the term is. She's the producer for all of the TV commercials that you see on Zillow, that you see on TV. And she used to work for MGM. She's absolutely one of the most brilliant people. By the way, you should totally have her on your podcast. It would blow your mind. So I say this all the time, and it's. I think if people really spend the time to look at this and think about what I'm saying, it'll make sense. If we really put the consumer as our North Star, and we do it in a way that is about them, you'll connect with them more. Let me make that comment. If you think about most of the TV commercials, in fact, almost all of them that were done by the National Association of Realtors, they're just garbage. They're garbage because nobody gives a shit about the word realtor. I'm sorry. I say this lovingly to all of you. I'm there, and I'm a supporter of NAR, to be clear, but I've been very vocal about this. Our ads are about us, and the consumer doesn't give a shit. They care about buying a house, having representation. It's about them. When they sell a house, it's about them. What Zillow did exceptionally well is their advertisements are about the consumer, and they tie the realtor into it, but you don't have to say, my realtor did this, or use a realtor. It's implied. And the advertisements are so good. I showed this on stage when I interviewed her at our conference. And it was so interesting to watch the audience. I have 1,000 people in the room, and there's a lot of people that hate Zillow in that room. They just do. And it was interesting to watch because the commercial was so emotional. It was a single mom with her daughter trying to find a house. They've been getting shot down. They've been writing offers, haven't been getting accepted. You're relating to them because everybody's been there. They've represented clients doing this, and you can feel the emotion, and you can see the realtors like, she says like a couple lines, keep your head up. We're going to figure it out. Like your realtor's helping them. And then they find the house, and like the lights come up, and like half my audience is crying. I'm crying because I'm like, oh man, like this is just, that's the American dream. They finally got it, etc. But Zillow just thread that needle so perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Because it was about the customer, and everything we've been taught is just always about us, and people are so sick of it. And I go, if we were just shift it to the consumer, that we're here, that we're about you, then people won't think of us any worse. I'm tying that back because we share stories on that website. So humansoverhouses.com. I would really encourage everybody to go see it because it's just important. We literally pay for our agents to send stories to us of consumers who have had adversity and finally got into home ownership, and they will make you cry. They will be about veterans or widowed family member, just really interesting stories. And we do it to remind people about who we serve and why we serve them and what this is about. It's not about the number of damn deals you do or being this billion-dollar producer. That it's not. It's about helping people achieve the greatest asset class that builds generational wealth in this country. And so I tell people all the time, copy it. Do whatever you want. I don't care. But if, as soon as you start showing people about who your customer really is, it shifts the conversation. And it's just right. It's just right.
You hit the nail on the head. It makes my head spin around and snot fly out of my nose when I see some agent that says, I've done 30 million in Q1. I've sold 100 houses in Q1. I'm the number one agent, all this stuff. And I sold 123 Banana Street in 4 hours, 40,000 over the list price with 4 offers. And it's like, you're diminishing your value every time that you open your mouth, because all you're talking about is you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell anybody. You don't talk about how you helped them. How did you get them from point A to point B? And I'll tell you, the Super Bowl commercial from Rocket Mortgage. Like, think about it. You come out of a commercial and the entire stadium is singing along to the song in your commercial.
I was there. I know. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it was a trip. I didn't even realize it, by the way, until it happened, because we were there and we were all singing, and I was just like, holy shit, that's amazing. Like, they got the whole stadium to do that.
Yeah. It's just, to me, and you're right. And Zillow has done, you can throw all the shade you want to throw at Zillow. I can talk shit about them all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But the bottom line is that they have figured out a way to connect with the consumer on many different levels, where real estate agents have fallen flat time and time and time and time again. And I almost feel like we're getting worse rather than getting better.
There was a video I found on TikTok, and I have a 4-year-old, so I'm in that phase of, falling in love with my daughter every time she does something cute. And it was completely 100%. You could tell it was not a made up thing. It was not scripted. It was just a moment where, I'm going to get it slightly wrong, but it was a single father. You could tell he was like in construction or something. Parent, you could tell he was just like widowed. And he's very close with his daughter. She was probably 14, and there was somebody videoing it, and they were in front of a house, and she was very upset because her dad was trying to get this house, and she thought that he didn't get it. And so the realtor was there on the side and just said, the house was sold, and she got really upset. And then, she's looking at the camera, like pissed off that she's being filmed. And then she turned around and he's like, "We got it." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "We got it. We got the house." And then the realtor she turns to the realtor and she just hands her the keys. Okay. So I get emotional. Like, you get this video. So I said to the head of marketing in ER, I said, "Here's what you need to do. Take that $30 million ad budget, or whatever the hell the number is, throw it out the door. Don't bring any ad firms in. Fire all those idiots because they don't understand a thing about anything. Here's what you do. You run a campaign. You want every realtor, all 1.5 million of them, to follow a campaign where you're going to give them some basic outlines, where they're going to do real videos with actual clients, not scripted, where they submit this in, and it's them helping the consumer, but it's 100% about the consumer, right? And you take the 5 best of those, where you run those as your TV commercials, 15, 30-second slots, and you don't say anything. You just put the realtor logo in the bottom right-hand corner at the end. That's it. It's not about anything other than this experience where each one of those people, every person watching it, can relate to it. They're like, they're emotional. I get it. Now we're changing the realtor brand. We're making it about them. But we're very delicately going, this is us, but it's not in your face. It's just, this was a moment. Maybe we call them moments. I don't know. But it was just, I'm sitting here going, there's such an easy way to shift the perception of our industry if we just start putting the consumer first.
Sit down, James. We could call it moments that move people. That was good.
It was good.
That was good.
It was good. I want 10%. You take 10%. I want 10% royalties too. So
I love it. I love it so much. I get, I got to tell you, you were sick. You didn't come to Nashville. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh my God. I had 102
Yeah.
fever in my hotel room. That sucked.
You had no idea. When you talked about WebMD, I was like, oh, he must have been doing that. And when he was in Nashville and he was sick. But I want to make this little note. Sorry about that. But I was thinking about you when you said that, and I have to tell you, when I did a little bit of research on you, and I had some questions prepared, I always have questions just in case, it's like a Liam Neeson interview, because he's like the worst person ever to like interview because he has like one word answers.
Yeah.
So I always have a couple questions over here that I can always refer to if you're not really vibing
engaging
with.
Right.
Yeah. And so I had no idea that I was going to number one, just love and really kind of connect and vibe and totally get that and be so enthralled in the conversation. But I love how you get it. And you're looking to make the industry better. Like you're trying to level us all up.
I care very deeply about this industry. It's like a conversation I had. We'll go here, but I'm not going to go too deep in it because I'm tired of talking about it. But it's like a conversation I had recently where I've been sharing the story of my grandfather's company. This is an important one, actually. So we're having this big debate about seller choice and all of these things. And I don't want to get into the details of that, but I just want to give a historical perspective for people. My grandfather ran a very successful real estate company in the central coast of California, a place called San Luis Obispo, one of the top 5 cities in the United States to live. And he was a mentor of mine. I would go over to his house on Tuesdays and I'd bring Pizza Hut, pizza, and Miller Lite. That was his thing. Don't ask me why. He's an old rancher, but that was his thing, right? I remember asking this one question. I was in my 20s. This is a long time ago now. I was in my 20s, and I remember asking him how he built such a big, successful real estate company. So he started independent. He became an ERA franchise. I actually know what that stands for, Electronic Realty Associates Fax Machine. And then he sold it, but he had 126 agents. Well, this, obviously. So he had 126 agents in the late 60s and 70s and early 80s. That would be the equivalent of about 1,000 agent brokerage today, for context. And I said, how did you get to be so successful with it? How'd you grow your company so big? He goes, it's really simple. I had all the inventory. I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, well, there's this thing called the MLS book, and it comes out once a month. And if you have all the inventory, you basically, nobody knows about what's available for sale for at least 30 days at a time, unless you're like running around trying to see what's for sale. And at that time, everybody had inventory. And what they did was, ready? They would try to sell all their inventory internally first, because then you double end the deal, which created more profitability for the brokerage. By the way, agents back in that time frame, 50-50 splits were common. And only if you couldn't sell it internally, then they'd cooperate with everybody else. And the process was absolutely awful. Sellers had no idea. Buyers had no idea it was for sale. Sellers didn't realize the double-ended deals were helping the brokerage. It was a freaking mess. The MLS wasn't anything like what it is today. We've spent 40 years building the greatest marketplace on the planet. And what my comment was, there were like 3 companies that had all the agents. If you didn't have the MLS of today, you'd see the world go back to the same way it was, where you've got 3 or 4 companies that control the market share. Agents won't work for a brokerage that doesn't have the inventory. And it was about the brokerage. It wasn't about the consumer. So when we talk about these big conversations, we talk about seller choice. I'm not against it, as long as you aren't steering them, as long as you are actually educating them, and you're giving them choice. Because here's the truth, people. You can argue with this all day long, and I will debate the shit out of you for it. 99% of sellers want to sell their house as quickly as possible for the highest price possible. And it's proven by every single economic study on planet Earth that the largest marketplace you can put something gets you the most potential eyeballs and offers and sales price. The end. And so when we're having these big discussions, is it about us or is it truly about the customer? Truly, is it about the customer? And I don't think we're having that honest conversation. It's like, oh, well, the seller should have choice. Yeah, if they are fully informed.
Right.
Fully informed about what it is that's going on. And this is example of why I'm going to give EXP great credit. Their CEO, Leo, good friend of mine, fantastic leader. That advisory form they put out should be the North Star for how it is. They are correctly advising sellers on the risks of things. I'd go a step further and even talk about dual agency being a risk of higher potential litigation. But like, if we are fully informing people and not steering them into something that benefits us, fine. But you only need, and you know this, you only need to go back a small period of time to see how the world was and how bad that world was that we've spent time to fix, which I'm not saying the system's perfect by any means. But man, we are so stupid in this business if we think long-term a fractured MLS system is better for us or the consumer. You only have to go outside the United States to see what a mess that is, where these people around the world are going, shit, your guys' marketplace is amazing. We don't have anything here like that. You know, you got me on my soapbox.
You are, but you know what? You make such a great distinction. And that is that the seller, obviously it's their house, they're making the payments on it. You know, they should have seller choice. But you're exactly right. They're being steered. They're being packaged and bamboozled into thinking that this is a better way. I went on a listing appointment, I guess it's been maybe 6 weeks ago. And the seller said, hey, I want to make sure you know, we talked to an agent from here and we talked to an agent from here. And, you know, we're going to, you know, talk with you too. I'm like, great, no problem. I welcome the competition. And so I'm in my listing appointment. He said, well, you know, we talked to this person from ABC Real Estate and they talked to us about putting it internally on their internal MLS because they have 36,000 agents that can, you know, give us some pricing feedback. And, you know, we wouldn't have to put it on the MLS because the price reductions, you know, would hurt us, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I let him go finish the spiel that he had gotten from this agent. And I said to him, I said, let me explain something to you right now. Any agent that tells you that they're going to take advice from 36,000 real estate agents on the price of your home, I hope that you threw him out immediately, because any person who has to have some other real estate agent tell them a pricing strategy should not be trusted to list your home.